today's guest is Eddie and Tyler Campbell of the Construction Brothers podcast. All right, Tyler, Eddie, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thanks for having us, Tats. It's good to be here.
Yeah, we're just talking and we're saying we see each other on social a lot, but we tend to forget social isn't real life, and that at least this is as close as we're going to get to face currently. So I'm really looking forward to this interview.
Yeah, man, I feel like we've just been kind of waving at each other from afar. Like, how's it going, buddy? Good to see you over there. How's it,
Yeah. I was honestly a little mind blown that there had been no real conversation here yet because,
I usually talk my head off most
already,
weeks.
I was
so
like,
it's
oh, yeah, we're
surprising.
going to talk to our old buddy. And that no clue that
We hadn't met.
hadn't actually interacted this way. So, good times.
I love it.
It's really good. I mean, there's so many places I can start, but let's just start with, on your website, it says you're 6th generation builders. Walk me through just like a really high level family history, some highlights.
Eddie's the historian, so I
Sure.
defer to him.
Perfect.
I want to lead this off by saying somebody recently just basically threw this out and they were like, yeah, you've got the standard website, like builder story with all the generations behind you.
Yeah,
And I guess we kind of do,
we do.
but there are a lot of them back there. 6 verifiable generations of builders, carpenters, grandfather was a structural engineer, dad was a general contractor, great grandfather was like carpenter foreman. So on we go. But yeah, 6 verifiable generations of building in the family, and somehow it's just kind of stuck. It's kind of in the blood. So
Mhm.
Wonderful. Well, I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, both of yours, and I noticed that Eddie, you joined the family business earlier than Tyler. How did that play out? I mean, I see Tyler's face like he was holding out or
Well,
something. Tell me the story there.
I am obviously I guess just more talented and more just
I
no.
was curious where you're going to go with that one. I was going to say,
Well, we look the same age, but we're not. I'm
Yeah.
actually a little older, even though we look the same age. I'm digging the Spurs in good now.
Wowza.
Yeah.
oh, that hurts.
I am almost a month shy of 13 years older than Tyler.
Mhm.
And so just really age and edict in some ways. I fell into the family business and so got a little more time than Tyler. And honestly, for where we're at in life for our ages, I'm 41. Tyler's coming up on big 29.
Mm.
Whoa.
Mm.
And so he's already got a decade in the industry because he basically started when he was 18. So apprenticed in really under me, under dad.
Yeah, no, I started, it was actually when I was 19, started, and worked with dad for a little while. And then I ended up getting in the office with this guy and learned the trade. And, a decade later, here we are. And, just kind of learned a lot from those two sources along the way. And what we do in our day job, we see so many projects over the span of a year. I think we're breaking close to 100 most years. So we get to see a lot of different issues on a lot of different projects, and we use that as a lot of ammunition here for the podcast. Is what we see as issues in the industry, and we try to approach it with some humor and some lightheartedness instead of just being like, it really grinds my gears, that sort of thing. So we try to stay out of that.
Wonderful. Now, I don't think I've asked or had anyone that had a family-owned business, or just you guys so close. What is the keys to having a successful, family-run entrepreneurial venture?
Clear direction of where we're going, for one. Very clear direction and heavy communication, which we know everything about and we're really good at. Right, Eddie?
Yeah, right. I think we do this well some days, and other days we don't do this well, and that goes for Dad, Tyler, and I. And I think the thing that kind of shines through is we all care a lot about each other, and if you have each other's best interest in mind, then I think things generally work out a whole lot better than if you're looking out for number one. And that probably goes whether you're in a family business or not, you know. So we've been fortunate to be able to work together. Uh, we actually like each other. That helps too. And so we've made a go of it. We have plenty of pot shots we make at the family business. You know, we talk about getting too close to the black hole and being sucked in. I mean, we've got all kinds of things we say about it. But in the end, I feel very fortunate, very blessed to be able to, work around dad and bro, uh, and we have a good time. I
That
mean, yeah, it's
that's
lighthearted. We cut up, we
we
jab
do.
at each other. We just have a good time
It's
with it.
all in good fun. But at the same time, I mean, exactly back to what Eddie said, though, just reiterating that point, it's you have to make sure that you're not looking out for number one. You have to try to make sure that you're looking out for everybody else in the business because, quite frankly, like I'm looking out for my nieces and nephews by doing that. I'm looking out for my mom and dad by doing that too. So you have to be able to step back and just kind of put yourself aside and try to remain humble and try to be a servant in that. And it's hard. Like, I mean, we all have our tendencies of being selfish and Lord knows I'm probably chief offender in that regard, but it's just so important to stay humble and just continue to just be a servant and help everybody out. So
Yeah, wonderful. Now, what it stands out, what you guys do is you incorporate fun into what you do. And I don't think a lot of businesses do that, or at least do that well. How do you guys balance the, having to have to do stuff with the fun, and how does it interact together? I heard stories about Nerf guns, spending $600 on Nerf guns on one of your episodes.
Yes, yeah.
that's fact. That is fact.
Tyler's really good at spending money,
Yeah.
and so and no, that was an awesome add to the office, and we do have things around here that are just fun.
Eddie's the tightwad. I'm the spender.
Totally,
So is Dad. Dad
totally.
is the other spender too. So Eddie's just kind of stuck in
I'm
the middle
stuck.
of
Yeah, I'm stuck here in the middle going, why did we buy that? Why did we buy that? But then I enjoy it. So, I
yeah,
complain until I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, we got Nerf guns, we have a ping pong table. Those are the two main things. And I don't know, we just try to keep it lighthearted. And there's kind of a method to that madness too. Is in our line of work as steel detailers, if we screw anything up, we're told that we suck, and like it's really harsh. There's no tact, no nothing. It's an everyday occurrence to get an all caps email with a like no clear expectation of what needs to be done, but like all caps email, I'm mad, help me out. You screwed something up again. It's hot. It's in the field. So by introducing some of those things in here, it helps not just us but employees just feel a little bit more at home and that everything's going to be all right. It's just part of the job. So um yeah, I will say though, the ping pong table was Eddie's idea. I did not have that idea. Mine was the Nerf guns.
yeah,
So
we have a good time to lighten that mood. And it goes outside of just like, oh, we got some toys around the office and things like that. Really kind of the attitude of the business and the way we interact with um, our teammates. Like you keep that up across the board, right? So everybody knows that it's open season on us too. Like there's not really a notion that anything has to happen. Like it's kind of like don't call me boss and I won't call you employee, or don't treat me like a boss, I won't treat you like an employee. Like let's just act like peers and get a job done. And so, the thing is like do your job. That's how we get the work done. Do your job. You've got a thing to do. You know how to do it. You have the talents. How do I resource you as a leader to be able to do those things? And then how can I lighten the mood and kind of pick you up when you're down and make it fun. So try to. There is a method to man. It's not just about fun. We get a lot done around here. I mean, like we've got
yeah,
a squad of people around here that really know how to get some work cranked out. And I mean, sometimes I'm amazed by the things we've been able to be involved in as a result of that. But all the while, you come around the office and you're like, gosh, these guys are just like goof offs.
When- We've definitely had somebody come by and say, "When do they ever get anything done?
Yeah.
Like, when do they ever work?"
You're like, man, well, we're head down though.
Yeah, we're head down, and we're staying late trying to get the thing done, but we just try to have fun where we're at. Uh, Example of just nobody's off limits is our dad, quote unquote, the CEO of the company. That guy, he comes into the office, and we all planned to just annihilate him with the Nerf guns. So he walked in, and it was a free for all, man. Like we seriously, we had him cowering and weeping in the
Well,
corner.
we
It was
sabotaged him.
amazing.
Nah, he didn't do that.
Yeah.
We're gonna hear about that later. He's like, I didn't do that. We did sabotage him though. We actually had Lindsay, which is kind of like one of our nicest, most innocent faces in the office, walk very politely behind him and lock the door so that he couldn't escape. And then we just got the drop on him and wore him out. That was where the big Nerf gun purchase happened though,
That
because
yeah.
he went and got the biggest and baddest one and then came back in and wore us
Yeah,
out.
look up the Nerf Prometheus. That Joker's insane.
Yeah, man, it was
10 balls a second and it hurts.
retribution.
It
It
hurts.
came back tenfold.
Woo. Yeah, so I'm not the only big spender around here. He
Nah,
spent
it's
he spent a lot on revenge.
I mean,
it's fun times.
it's a skill to take fun and make it productive. And I think, like you said, it's an art, right? Because you can go one way or the other. But I think you guys have sort of honed that in what you're doing. With the podcast, I mean, what was the idea there? I mean, hey, Dad, we're going to start this podcast, and we're going to talk and interview a bunch of people, and throw in some comedy. Hey, what do you think? Like, how did that evolve? Was it just natural? Like, what was the idea behind
The first step was never having had that conversation.
it?
Just like
No conversation.
all of the sudden they have a podcast. Like, what? You have a podcast? What happened? Did we spend money on that? What's this on your MX statement this month? That kind of thing. So
Speed to
Tyler's-
execute before the
I-
credit card statement.
Yeah, I just walked in one day to Eddie's office and I was like, "Hey, dude, we're starting a podcast." And he went, "Huh?" And yeah, few months later, after kind of working on it a little bit, kind of figuring out the odds and ends of it, and we started throwing those things out on the internet. Yeah, there really wasn't any sort of period where I approached somebody and said, "Mother, may I?" It was more like, I'm just gonna do it, and hey, I'll deal with the consequences. Beg forgiveness, really. And that came in the form of Dad seeing my Amex statement. But,
Well, and we were looking for a way of getting ourselves outside of our little context, which is a 30,000 person town in the middle of Georgia. That's not quite Macon, not quite Atlanta. And so we're wanting to speak to the construction industry at large. And the question kept coming back for years. How do we do that? How do we do that? We'll put a blog on our website. We'll have a what really grinds my gears section that we can throw something on. We'll have the dumb detail of the week from the CDs that we have or whatever. And it was always like, nah, that isn't it. And then the podcast made a lot of sense. And so, yeah, when Ty picked up the equipment and like he's really kind of an audiophile anyway. He's got that musician's background that allowed him to really bring that to bear. And then we just kind of pair up and we cut up anyway. So I mean, it's not
it
a
was
far cry from how we act every day, all day long when we're just cutting up.
it's really not a far cry from it. Like, there's several times where people will come hang out with us here at the office that have listened to the show, and I just kind of look at them and say, this is real. Like, the show is real. We really do cut up that much. We really do bash on each other that much. That's just part of the fun for us, and um I don't know. It's been a heck of a lot of fun to do. Now, the kind of thing that I noticed while we were working on this is we wanted to say, like, yeah, we want to have a voice in the industry. We want to have a voice in the industry. We have something to say. But a lot of time was spent realizing, wow, there are a lot of other people out there that are really, really smart. and and so we started going and asking them questions, and it took shape there. It became less about us and more about who we could find, who we could talk to, who we could learn from. And so there was almost a selfishness, I think, there for a while where we were thinking like, hey, we've got to, we need to speak into the industry. We need to have a voice in the industry. Probably the best way that you can do that is to shut up and just be the party host. We talked about that a couple weeks ago where I heard that thing from Gary Vee where he was talking about just hosting the party. Set up something and invite some cool people there and make it friendly, make it inviting, and it's amazing what'll happen if you just open up and start asking really simple, kind of stupid questions. That's really kind of what we talk about all the time is we don't ask very deep questions. We're what do you mean? How do you like? We ask simple questions, and that makes it approachable for a broad audience too. It's been a lot of fun, and so I don't know. It, in order to reach the audience we needed to reach or wanted to reach, we just needed to step aside and let other people speak.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, what's been the byproduct of, this activity for you guys?
Learning 100%. We are getting an education every time we step in the booth. And I mean, we speak with people that have this professional knowledge outside of the realms of where we're at. We're like, we're all of us in the industry, we're isolated in some way. We see our world, and it's hard to get outside of that and see other people's worlds. This has enabled us to see other people's worlds and to learn from them. So 100% learning.
Yeah. It's funny even learning from our grandfather, which you would say like, oh, well, you can do that normally, but it's funny. We set it up as an interview and we were able to like really mine a little bit more and learn more from him. And that was just such a lesson in how things used to be in the industry. And, some of the pros and cons there, mostly pros. But it was pretty eye opening to see that. So yeah, learning has been a big part of it, and just getting to meet cool people like you, Tats, and a bunch of others as well around that. It's been an honor to be able to do that and have some way of sharing it out for other people to hear.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, I've done enough podcasts, and I love it when I come into an interview thinking one thing and then just coming out with a completely separate concept, right? Between the two of you, I mean, you've done a bunch of interviews. Which interview, one for Tyler, maybe for you, Eddie, where you came in thinking one thing, and by the end of that, 20 or 30 minutes, you're just like, wow, I need some time to process what I just learned. Start with you, Tyler.
Oh gosh, man. I'm gonna be that kind of generic guy and say, "Oh, there are so many," but I honestly, I think Renee Morcos, I think, was one of those that I could say was. We walked out after talking to him about Alice and how they're basically using AI in the industry and basically adapting out schedules and it seriously I saw kind of the future of what it could be. Now, is it everything that it's cracked up to be? I don't know. I haven't used it completely, but just the theory of it and the idea of man, what could AI do for the industry? It would like we both rolled out of the booth on that one and I felt like we just stared at a wall for probably 2 hours just contemplating what we had just heard. It really that was one of those that really stood out to me. And then, from a starstruck perspective, Roy Underhill, no doubt, that was one, because just kinda growing up and seeing him on PBS, um, that was that was a cool one for me.
Awesome,
Did I s
Eddie.
did I steal yours?
No, I'm going to say when we interviewed Pete Dumont on OS 2.0, um, the thought that the construction industry needs an overhaul was not new, but that the construction industry needs a new operating system. was something that he opened up facets of the industry that I had not thought about, and opened up a mindset of how a new operating system for the construction industry might be put together that I had not thought about. And so, I mean, and that spanned from contract language to the use of blockchain to insurance, and I mean, many things that are very important to some, um, but that I didn't think about as much. And so, where I might have thought we need to be focused on the constructability of things, and we do, he was more focused on how we work and play together. And then the impediments to that and how we're contracted and set up. Maybe we just need a new operating system. That was a big one. Honorable mention was um, Ajibade Abinu from University of Melbourne. Uh, his value-based purchasing and the whole thought of RFI and what it's costing the industry, that was another one that was a little bit of a mind blower. So, um, and I'm sure many could roll out beyond that, but those are two that stick out immediately.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, you guys incorporate fun into your workplace, but I mean, do you guys have hobbies outside of work? I mean, sometimes when you're running a business or in a business, there's a lot happening. But what do you guys do outside of work?
We're both runners,
Oh, okay.
and so I'll say novice runners, like
Yeah.
not runners that ran for any kind of like competitive thing in college or anything like that. So we actually challenged each other a little bit there
Hmm.
and had some fun. Went and did a half marathon down in Savannah together. So that's a fun shared hobby we have.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot of fun. And then kind of, I guess, personal hobbies and stuff too. I mean, reading's one of mine that I love sitting down with a book when I get a chance. I have two young kids though, so that can get a little bit hard at times. And then yeah, like Eddie said, running, and then music is another one that's just kind of on the side. And photography and videography are two of my others as well. So I get into that pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
Nice, wonderful. I mean, guys, is there anything that I didn't ask that you wanted to get out there or talk about?
We've interviewed so many people during the time of the show, like you have as well. And I'm sure you've kind of realized, wow, there are a lot of software companies out there looking to get on the show. It's kind of nuts. And there are just so many out there saying that they're going to solve all your issues. Everything that's wrong out on your site, everything that's wrong in your office, everything that's wrong with your family, and all this other stuff. Like, it's just not true. And the only way that we can really see change in the industry is by focusing back on the people. What we have right now is not a technology issue. We have a people problem. And as long as we have people in the industry, we're going to have problems like that because there's the human side of things. We kind of talked about that whenever we first started the show, is like the human element of construction before we moved over to ideas and encouragement. And that's more what we were talking about, is like tech doesn't solve the human element, and it can help in some ways, but don't lose sight of that. There's still something to be said for picking up the phone and talking to somebody one on one to work through an issue. And through the decade, whether that's a lot or a little to some people depending on your perspective in the industry, over my decade in the industry, I realized that is something that people push off on and say that tech is just going to solve their problems, and it never does. So I just that's one thing that I like to soapbox on whenever I get a chance, is just saying, like, don't let technology be your scapegoat, because people are still the issue at the heart of everything.
Comes down to mindset and people.
It does.
Hey, Eddie, last words.
Yeah, on the people thing, I really do think that we should work on having more of a welcoming spirit about us in the construction industry, and more of a mindset for looking out for each other, one anothering, doing for somebody else what you would want them to do for you. And we will experience quite a shift in the industry when we do that. Listen to Simon Sinek brought this up in Monday meeting this week with our team, but talking about the infinite game and how business isn't a finite game. Nobody can say, I won business. And, even with neighboring podcasts, like we've had to kind of say, we're not going to be competitive, right? We're not going to put ourselves in a place where we're so emotionally shallow that we can't take it if somebody else is being successful. Why don't we turn into cheerleaders for the people around us and say, we're going to look at success and applaud it. And we're going to look at the people around us and say, good for you. And we're going to try to do for the other people what we would want somebody to do for us. And that's not try to step on your neighbor to make you feel bigger. And so the way we treat each other is a big deal. And if we have a mindset that's less, I'm going to win, and more, we're going to get into this to try to help, to try to improve, to try to push. It's just a different place as a mindset to start from, and we're going to do better at working together. And all the the overbaked words like collaboration and teamwork and all these things that we just consistently hear, those things will begin to happen. Those concepts will happen, and we'll quit having to just beat the words to death. We'll actually be doing them. Mm-hmm. So my hope is that we can start working together as an industry, pull together as an industry, and start making a difference in how we do what we do. Because we do need an overhaul. There's no doubt. So yeah, that kind of be where I'd close out.
Yeah, wonderful.
You said something smart.
I said something smart?
You said something smart. Wow.
SMRT. That's me.
Well, you guys both said a bunch of smart things. Definitely, I agree. There's enough opportunity for everyone. It's a journey. We're all trying to explore different things. So I'm eager and interested in following your journey as you go along. And hopefully next time won't be too long till we say hi. In person, or at least another virtual one of these, because I love what you guys are doing, bringing fun and education to the industry. So thank you.
Thanks, Tats. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here and hang out with you today, man.
Yeah, thanks so much.